Hey guys, in this tutorial we will see how the player script interacts with level manager and how the level loads, all those things we can see. So this is the output that I have. I think in previous tutorial I created this sample scene, but it was not using level manager and anything. Now if I run it, you can see the output, and from this output we can start. I will start explaining the script. Okay, let me play the game. It's the same like previous, but what are all the change? Previously we don't have fade in fade out effect, now we have that. So that's the thing we are going to integrate in this video. So let me pass as first frame at a first frame and let me play this, and you see whenever the game starts it is completely black, and when I say go one by one frame, you see the transition. So this was not there previously, now we have. Now the game is ready and now we are able to play the game. Okay, so we will see how this thing happens. Okay, so in player class I am introducing three new variables, sorry, four new variables. The first variable is fate complete seconds on start, fate complete seconds on restart. This won't be used at this point of time. Maybe in later video we will be using it. But just to keep this variable, this will be used for whenever you restart the level. And there is one bool variable called take input, and this won't be exposed in inspector. And there is one unity event. We will see how this event is getting used. At this tutorial it won't be used, but I will tell where this event will be invoked in our player script in this tutorial itself. Okay, and there are few modifications from last tutorial with respect to fade screen. Okay, so very minor changes. If you see in the last tutorial, if you see this line, there is something called fade complete seconds. This was exposed in inspector. Now I am making hide in inspector. I think that's it for fade screen. And next one is sorry guys, my friend is cooking, so you might get this disturbance. Okay, so I'm going to hide this in inspector. That's the only difference. And in level manager also I am introducing a new variable called cam fade complete seconds. This is set to -1, and this also I am not exposing in inspector. And I think this variable by default it is set to hide in inspector. Even in last video tutorial I did, so I think means it was set to hide in inspector in last video tutorial itself. But anyway, this is also not exposed. Okay, now we have this one second guys, mixie is running. Okay, fine. Now we have this variable setup. Okay, now what we will be doing is in player script, go to start method. Everything is same, only difference is now we are going to integrate level manager into our player class. So go to a start function. This is our start method, and here what I am, okay, one second, wait. Okay, now I will start. So here in this start method what I do is, oh shit, wait guys, I think it's set now. Okay, fine. In start method what we are doing is we are getting the collider 2D component and we are setting it to false. So when we say in the player script, we get the circle collider and we set it to false at start method, and we check whether the level manager whether the level is ready. So this check we do from level manager instance. So we check is the level is not ready, then on that time you subscribe to on level loaded event. So since our level is not ready, we are going to subscribe to on level loaded event, that is in level manager class. So this is the event. For this event we are going to subscribe this method. So once the level is loaded, on level loaded method will be called in player class. Okay, but if the level is already ready, it means on that time we don't have to subscribe to this event. Assume you loaded a level and this game object got instantiated in between the level, that is at runtime this game object got instantiated. On that time this condition will become false because level is already ready. So what you have to do is go for else condition. So in here whatever method I am subscribing, so same method I am calling it over here. So if the level is not ready, subscribe to the event. If it is already ready, directly call on level loaded function. So what happens is, whenever, let me put this breakpoint, whenever on the first frame, when we run this like this will be set to false, this is false, and we have subscribed to on level loaded event. So once the level is loaded from level manager class, you will get this event, means from level manager class this event will be invoked, and this invoke level loaded event will be called from fade screen. I hope this I explained in last video tutorial. Okay, so whenever I start, the screen is completely black. How? Because whenever we start, not only the player script executes, even level manager script also will execute. So if you see one second, there is one more thing I have to tell. So if you go to project settings, in the script execution order I had set level manager script uh, as top, means I have kept level manager script in the top level of hierarchy. So this way what happens is, we are always sure level manager awake method will be called first. So what we do is, let's put a breakpoint. Okay, and let's run it. Now at the first frame, level manager awake will be called and level manager instance will be set up. Then fade screen awake method will be called, then player start method will be called, because always according to Unity awake will be called first and start will be called second. Okay, and in fade screen, in on GUI method, what we do is, we do this condition if scene loaded is true. Since the scene is not loaded, we will draw a GUI texture, that is we already have this texture over here, that is this fade texture, that is this black texture. And since the scene is not loaded, make sure to keep the fade texture as complete black. So we are saying 0, here we are giving the color GUI.color new vector 4 of 0001. So we are setting to black. Okay, GUI color, and we are drawing a full screen texture. Okay, from 00 to screen width and full screen height, and we are giving the texture as a, we are giving this fade texture. So it will be completely black, and now this fade texture alpha value will be always 1, because since if you see in this line we are always setting red green, blue, alpha. So always this is set to 1, so the screen will be completely black. Okay, so this will be running. Okay, now if I put a breakpoint again, this is false, this is also, this time also false. At one point scene loaded will become true. Okay, this is also false. And now what happens is, once the scene is loaded, Unity will call this method. On that time frame weighted will become 0. See, frame weighted becomes 0. It means on scene loaded function was called by Unity, and we are going to wait for 3 frames, and after 3 frames we check is scene manager dot scene count equal to 1. On that time I will make scene loaded equal to true. Now in onGUI method, scene loaded will become to true, so this condition won't execute, but still the screen will be complete black. Okay, and here if you see, when we say on scene loaded to true, we also invoke level loaded event. This will send a message to the class whoever have subscribed to this event. So in our case we subscribe to on level loaded event, so I think at this point of time it is already called. Okay, so let me put a breakpoint, it won't break. Okay, fine. So what happens is, whenever you play the game, once the scene is loaded, we will make frame weighted to 0, and if all this condition satisfies, we will say scene loaded to true, and we say invoke level loaded event. Okay, from inside level manager script, and from here the message is passed to player class, because player class have subscribed to on level loaded event. Now let me rerun this. Okay, so okay, scene loaded is called and frame weighted is 0. Till that time it will draw the GUI texture as complete black, and after 3 frames, if all the scene is complete, if the scene is completely loaded, we will make sure if scene count is equal to 1, and press continue here, and run. Now scene is loaded, it will call invoke level loaded event. Okay, and now it will call the on level loaded event in the player class, because we subscribed at start method. Now we set last player position. So this was already there in the previous video tutorial, where we set its position at fixed update. Here we are setting, but now before fixed update is getting called, sorry, but now in this case what we do is, once the level is loaded, we set last player position to transform dot position, and whatever we did on previously on start method, we are doing it here. We are saying find the player object, that is our yin yang symbol will be found, and that object will be assigned here. And now we are assigning the now we are making sure the player, one second, now we are making sure the player collider is enabled. Okay, and we set rigid body dot gravity scale equal to 0, and there is this are all same like previous, and we say on game start. And here what we do is, still the screen is black. Okay, now we have to do the fade out effect. We check whether level manager dot cam fade complete second equal to -1. By default this is set to -1, so yes, this is -1, and what we do here is we are saying level manager dot instance fade screen. So there is this thing in variable in fade screen called fade complete seconds. This will tell how much in how much second fade in effect or fade out effect should happen. Okay, so we are actually assigning this variable with this value. So fade complete seconds on start, and if this is not equal to -1, then we say fade complete seconds equal to fade complete seconds on restart. So this will be this value when this else condition will satisfy is whenever you are restarting the game. But like I said, for this condition and this variable there is no use in this video tutorial. So what we are doing here is in the player you say fade complete seconds on start. It means whenever the level starts, within how many seconds you want to fade out the screen. That is, within 1 second I want to go from black to normal state, that is this state. So we are saying assign this one to fade complete seconds, and we are saying do fade out. So this do fade out is in the fade screen script. I hope what this does most of you guys know, because inside this we do lean tween dot value. Okay, and I explained about this event also. Once the fade out is completely done in ongoing method, this event will be called. This thing we checked out in last video tutorial. Now we are invoking this from a player script once the game starts. So we are saying once the fade out is complete, please call this function. So what will happen is, let me put a breakpoint here. You see it is happening, fading out is happening, fading out is happening. Now it comes to the normal state. And I think it has to break. I don't know why it never broke. Okay. Oh shit, I never attached the breakpoint. Sorry guys. It's my mistake. Okay. So let's attach it. On game start will be called once the level is loaded, so that we already saw. Now let me run it. See, once the fade out is completed, this method is called. Now let me put a breakpoint and we'll go one by one step. Okay. So it is fading out. Come on, come on, come on. So once the fade out happens fully, this method will be called by ongoing, because we said here on game start do the fade out, and once the fade out is complete we say take input to true. Now we are using this take input variable. So by default this is set to false, and once the level starts we are setting take input to true. Okay, and we are using this unity event on cam fade out complete on start event. So what does this mean is, whenever the game starts the camera will fade out from black to normal, from invisible state to visible state, that is from black to this state. Okay, so you will be able to see the game. So when that moment happens we are saying invoke this unity event. So this unity event is exposed here in the inspector, so you can uh, call any function when this specific event happens. Okay, and we are saying we don't want this method to be called again by fade screen. So what we are doing is we are unsubscribing to this function from fade screen. So what we do is on game start we say I want to call this function called on fade out complete once the fading completes, and once the fade out is complete we are saying, hey fade screen, your work is done and we don't need your help anymore. So we are unsubscribing this function from the fade screen. If you don't unsubscribe, what will happen is next time if the fading out happens, this function will be called again by fade screen and that will create an error. So like we talked about in previous tutorial, when you subscribe to a event, it's your responsibility to unsubscribe it. That way you are telling the event, I don't want to receive any message from you. Okay, that's what this function, this line tells. Now we have the level ready, take input is true, and everything is done. And even I explained about this variable, how much seconds it will take to do the fade out on start when the level starts. So instead of giving 1, if I give 100, it will take 100 seconds to fade out. See, it is slowly fading out, which we don't want. So from player class we are actually giving a command to the uh, fade screen. Okay, how much seconds you have, the fade out has to happen. Okay, and even from player class we are actually using this level manager for on level loaded event, and once the level load happens, we call this on game start, and from here we give the command do fade out effect. And once fade out is completed, it means we are sure that the level is ready and everything is visible. Now we can start interacting with our game. Okay, so everything is same, and I have this public bool variable that function name is take input, and here this function can be called from outside of the class or through unity event, and when you set the state, this state will be assigned to take input, but I am not using it now. Okay, now we have our level ready, and in update method everything is same like previous, but only one difference is until the take input is true. Okay, again he started the work. Okay, 1 second, yeah, it's done. Okay, fine. Now if until the take input becomes true, don't execute any of this condition. So all these things which saw in previous video tutorial. So until this is not true, you go for else condition and make sure whether the player is hitting the ground. So when this condition will happen is, let me show you one scenario. Let me move this ceiling over here and keep the player like this. And just to watch the scene view now, don't watch the game view, because game view will be completely black. Now what happens is, it is black but the player is on the air, but still the player has to come down because take input is false and player will not be able to move left and right, and player will not be able to do jumping in. None of the things will happen because this, if this is true, then we do the process input and when we do all the calculations. Since we are not since this is false, what will happen is we have to make sure the player come down and hits the ground. You see, when the screen is fading out, the player is also coming down. That happens because of this. If I put a breakpoint here and if I execute the next frame, 1 second guys, the mixie is running. Come on. Oh my god. Uh, okay, it's done. I think so. Okay, so when I execute this next frame, take input was false, so it was coming to else condition. We are making player rotation equal to 0, and player velocity, what we are doing is we are making sure the player is coming down by multiplying our down vector by the uh, come down speed. So this is a vector scalar multiplication. I think I explained you in the previous video tutorial. So now this vector, whatever we are scaling up, this scaled vector will be our player velocity. And in the next step we check, are we hitting the ground? No. So this will return false. So it will come to else condition. We check for player rotation, that is player rotation in the sense this sprite is rotating. This sprite will rotate by default, like even in previous video tutorial we checked out, if you just jump from the ground, or if you are coming uh, from above, on that time the player has to rotate, that is this sprite has to rotate. This will give you a good feeling of that our character is in motion. Okay, so here this condition will satisfy and rotation will be there, and by default, since there is no movement in x direction, we say it is 0. So this condition won't be satisfied, sorry, it is 0, so this condition will be satisfied and we are applying the rotation. Okay, so now if I put a breakpoint here and if I run, you see still player input is not set to true, because still the camera is fading out, because false. So you will come here, you will set the player rotation, you will apply the velocity for the player towards ground, and this time you will check whether the player is hitting the ground. Yes, you are hitting the ground. Then we do all this calculation. So in each frame you do, and at one point of time take input is true. Now you will be able to move the player and you will be able to jump. Everything can happen. So I hope you guys understood about this tutorial. One thing in our current scenario it won't work is if you keep a player inside some platform, this might give you some weird output. I don't know how efficient it will work. So nobody wants to keep a player inside a platform. That's a edge case which I never handled. So always make sure the player is in some place where it is not touching any platform and it is on the space. Okay, so I hope you guys understood the tutorial. Okay, only difference here is at the, since we want the player to fall towards the ground, we execute this condition. So if I don't execute, what will happen is it will be something like this. I commented it now. Since I commented it, this if condition won't be satisfied, and since the player gravity is also set to 0, let me check. I think player gravity is set to 0. Yeah, gravity. Okay, see, on level loaded what we do is we say gravity scale equal to 1, so gravity is pulling down. Okay, once full fading happens, we make sure the gravity scale is set to 0. Okay, so this is what will happen. So in this scenario, what we do is we manually assign the player velocity. And also one more thing that you guys have to see is, if I comment this line, player will fall down, but the player rotation won't happen. It will simply fall down. This looks weird. See, it is not rotating. So when you uncomment this, what we do is we are making sure player is coming down with some specific speed that we that we give, and also we check for the player ground position, and also we rotate the player. So once level and everything is ready, we are able to move the player left, right, and we are able to jump also. So now you guys understood how this thing works. So this is how all these pieces work together. Previously whatever we saw, all those things are a framework code. Now we are integrating that code with the player class, and this thing works good. This way what we have done is we have done a basic setup for our level. So now every level when you create, let me try to jump over there. Okay, it's not jumping because height is less. Okay, so in every level when you load it, it has to come from black to normal state. So all these things are set up now, so we don't have to redo this work again and again. One thing you guys have to note here is, in the level manager I used this event called on level loaded event. This event is getting used in, one second, what happened suddenly? Okay, this event is getting used in start method. So we use it here, but I am not using this level manager on level end event. If you see here, currently we have our level started, but where is the end? If there is beginning for something, there should be an end, right? So there is no level end as of now, so you can keep doing like this, and even if you fall down, it will be running infinitely. There is no end for it. So if there is a beginning, we should have an end. So that's where this exit comes. So each level will have a exit zone, where if the player goes to that exit zone, that level will be completely done and it will load the next level. So that's where we will use this on level end event that we will be seeing in the next video tutorial. Okay, so currently only start is there, there is no end. So in the next video tutorial I will set the exit point, and as well as I will make sure when the player reaches the exit zone, it will load the next level. So that's all for this tutorial, guys. I hope you guys understood this tutorial easily. If something is not right or you guys have some complaints, please post your comments below. I will see all of you guys in the next video tutorial. Thank you. Bye.